Eli Thompson woke up to loud drums booming across the valley. When he stepped out of his little shack, 30 warriors with painted faces stood super still, like statues, staring at his door. None of them moved or said a word. They just watched him, with eyes full of secrets he didn't get. Just the day before, Eli was a nobody, an orphan kid cleaning stables for bits of food. Now the scariest tribe around was standing outside his home like quiet protectors. How did helping one lost girl change everything so fast? The morning sun made long shadows behind the warriors as Eli thought back to yesterday. He was walking by the creek, looking for cool stuff the spring floods might have brought down from the mountains, when he heard a soft crying sound coming from the trees. Most people in Cedar Hollow would have run the other way. Helping a native meant trouble, and trouble meant danger. But that crying tugged at the empty spot in Eli's heart where a family should have been. Following the creek, Eli found her hiding under a fallen log, a native girl, maybe 14 years old. Her deerskin dress was torn and dirty. Her dark hair was messy with leaves and mud. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Her eyes looked wild, like she'd been running for days. When she saw Eli, she scooted back like a scared animal, talking fast in words he didn't know. "Easy there," Eli said, holding up his hands slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you." The girl was breathing hard, staring at his face. Then, in choppy English, she whispered, "Help, please. Family. Lost." Eli's heart squeezed tight. He knew what it felt like to be lost with nowhere to go. "Where's your family?" he asked. She pointed north to the mountains, tears running down her dirty cheeks. "Storm split us. Can't find them." Every part of Eli screamed to walk away. Helping a native girl would make him a target for every angry person in town. Samuel Crow and his buddies already called him worthless orphan trash. This would give them a reason to do worse than just talk. But looking into her scared eyes, Eli saw himself at 8, standing by his parents' graves, with no one to turn to. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Ayanna," she whispered. "I'm Eli, and we're going to find your family." But as Eli helped Ayanna stand, neither of them saw Samuel Crow watching from the hill above, his face twisted with hate, already thinking how to use this to cause trouble. The dark clouds on the horizon were nothing compared to the trouble coming. To Cedar Hollow. Eli, the kid nobody cared about, was about to become super important to 2 totally different worlds. But first, he had to keep Ayanna alive long enough to get her home. That meant crossing land where white folks and natives fought on sight. Eli's hands shook as he led Ayanna to his tiny shack behind Miller's stable. She could barely walk, limping on her left leg, but she kept going with gritted teeth. Her bravery reminded Eli of a hurt hawk he once found, tough and proud even when broken. "We gotta clean that cut," Eli said, sitting her on his only chair in his cramped home. 3 wooden crates, a thin mattress, and a rusty pot were all he owned, but it was a safe spot, and that's what mattered. Ayanna's eyes darted around the tiny room before landing on Eli's face. "You live alone?" she asked. "Since I was 8, Eli said, getting water from the well outside. "My parents died of fever. Town's been stuck with me since." Something changed in Ayanna's face, like she got what it meant to lose people. When Eli cleaned the cut on her forehead with a wet cloth, she didn't even wince, though he saw pain in her eyes. "Your family?" Eli said carefully. "How many? Where were you going?" "Maybe 15 or 20, she said, searching for the right word. "My father is Chief, Dakota. We trade with a town 2 days north. Storm came fast, I fell in the river. When I climbed out, everyone was gone." Eli's stomach dropped. If her dad was a chief, her being gone would bring warriors looking for her. And if they found her with him, they'd think the worst. "How long you been missing?" he asked. Ayanna held up 3 fingers. 3 days. Eli's brain raced with bad ideas. By now her tribe's warriors would be searching everywhere. Samuel Crow would stir up the townsfolk, saying natives were planning war. Fear would spread fast, and scared people get mean. A loud knock at the door made them both freeze. Eli signaled Ayanna to stay quiet as heavy footsteps circled the shack. Through the window, he saw Samuel Crow's rough face peeking in. "Open up, boy." Samuel's voice was bossy, like he was used to people listening. Got questions for you? Eli's heart pounded. If Samuel found Ayanna, he'd drag her to town to prove natives were sneaking in. The townsfolk would use her to lure her dad's warriors or do something worse. "What do you want, Mr. Crow?" Eli called through the door, standing between Samuel's view and Ayanna. "Saw you at the creek. See anything weird? Any sign of natives?" But as Samuel talked, Ayanna's eyes got huge with fear, pointing a shaky finger at the window. 3 more figures stood outside, not townsfolk. These were warriors moving like shadows, their faces painted with red and black war paint. Ayanna's breathing got fast and shallow, recognizing something that made her shrink into the chair. These weren't her dad's men. They were from a rival tribe, the ones who'd been attacking settlements and taking kids for months. "Eli," Ayanna whispered super quietly. "Bad men. They take me. Father never see me again." Samuel kept banging on the door. "Boy, I know you're in there. Open this door or I'll break it down." Eli's mind spun with impossible choices. Outside the front door was a man who'd turn Ayanna over to an angry crowd. Outside the window were warriors who'd drag her to a terrible fate. And here was Eli, a 16-year-old orphan with just a rusty knife and whatever bravery he could find. "Mr. Crow?" Eli called, keeping his voice steady. "I'm getting dressed. Give me a sec." The warriors outside noticed Samuel and slipped back into the trees, but Eli felt their eyes watching, waiting to attack. Ayanna tugged his sleeve, her eyes wide with a desperate idea. "Back window," she whispered. "We run to the creek. I know a hiding spot." "That's your plan? Run and hope they don't catch us?" "Better than staying and dying," she said. Eli looked at this brave girl who'd survived 3 days alone in dangerous land and saw something he never had, someone willing to fight for him like he was fighting for her. The empty spot in his heart felt less empty. "Okay," he said, "but we stick together, no matter what." Samuel's voice boomed again. "Time's up, boy." Eli grabbed his knife and a small bag with his only treasures, a faded picture of his parents and his last $5. As Ayanna limped to the back window, Eli heard Samuel's boots moving toward the back of the shack. "He's coming around," Eli hissed. Ayanna's face went pale, but she didn't wait. She pushed open the window and slipped out like someone born in the wild. Eli followed, his heart racing as his boots hit the ground. They ran toward the creek, Ayanna's hurt legs slowing them down, but she never gave up. Behind them, Samuel's angry yells mixed with the sound of wood breaking as he kicked in the front door. But ahead, 3 painted warriors stepped out from the bushes, blocking their way to the creek. The trap was perfect. Samuel behind, enemy warriors ahead, and nowhere to run. Eli felt Ayanna's cold but steady hand slip into his. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "thank you for trying." But as the warriors raised their weapons and Samuel crashed through the trees, a loud sound echoed across the valley, changing everything. A deep war horn answered by tons of voices from the mountains. Ayanna's dad, Takakota, had found them. But would he get there in time to save his daughter? Or would he find only sadness in the creek bed where 2 kids dared to trust each other? The war horn's call shook the ground under their feet. The Sabi, 3 enemy warriors froze, their painted faces turning toward the mountains where more calls answered from all over. Ayanna squeezed Eli's hand tighter, and for the first time since he found her, hope sparkled in her eyes. "Father," she whispered, full of wonder and relief. But the enemy warriors didn't back off. Their leader, a tall guy with scars all over his chest, raised his tomahawk and said harsh words in his language. Whatever he said made the other 2 nod seriously and step closer to Eli and Ayanna. "They say it's better to take you now than fight my dad's whole group," Ayanna translated, her voice tight with fear. Samuel Crow burst through the bushes. Behind them, his face red from running and anger. When he saw the warriors, he stopped, his hand going to the gun on his hip. "Oh no!" he gasped. The scarred warrior turned to Samuel, seeing an easier target. In one quick move, he threw his tomahawk. Samuel dove to the side, the weapon sticking into a tree where his head was a second ago. "Stay behind me," Eli told Ayanna. though he knew his rusty knife was no match for 3 tough warriors. Then an arrow whizzed past Eli's ear, hitting the scarred warrior in the shoulder and spinning him around. From the hill above, Takakota appeared like a superhero, his strong figure standing out against the sky. Behind him came 15 warriors on horses, charging down with fierce control. The enemy warriors realized their mistake too late. Surrounded and outnumbered, they tried to run to the creek, but Takakota's men moved like a wolf pack, blocking every escape. The fight was quick and rough, leaving 2 enemy warriors dead and their leader caught. Samuel Crow had run off into the bushes at the first sign of real danger, leaving only the sound of his scared footsteps. Takakota got off his horse by the creek and walked slowly toward Eli, who still stood in front of Ayanna to protect her. The chief was shorter than Eli expected, but he felt big, like a storm cloud. His face, worn from years of leading and losing, showed no feelings as he looked at the white boy who risked everything for his daughter. Ayanna broke free from Eli and ran to her dad, talking fast in their language. Takakota listened, his eyes never leaving Eli's face. When she finished, silence hung between them like a tight rope. "She says you saved her life," Takakota said finally, his English clear but with a strong accent. "You helped when others would have walked away." Eli's throat felt super dry. "She needed help. That's it." A tiny smile flashed in Takakota's eyes. "You risked everything for that's it." Before Eli could answer, one of Takakota's warriors came up and spoke fast in their language. The chief's face got serious as he listened. Then his eyes locked on Eli with new strength. "My scout says your town's talking. Samuel Crow's spreading lies, saying you worked with enemy warriors to kidnap my daughter. Your own people want to hunt you as a traitor." Eli felt like the ground moved under him. He saved Ayanna, found her dad, did everything right, but somehow lost everything. "Where will you go now, Eli Thompson?" Takakota asked. "Your people call you enemy. Mine call you friend. But tomorrow, when feelings calm and politics heat up, what does friendship protect against a whole territory that wants you dead?" Eli stared at Takakota, the weight of tough choices heavy on his shoulders. Go back to Cedar Hollow and face Samuel's lies, or vanish into the wild with no one to trust. Both paths led to a lonely end, one fast, one slow. "I don't know," Eli admitted quietly. Takakota looked at him for a long time, then spoke to Ayanna in their language. She answered excitedly, pointing at Eli as she talked. Other warriors gathered, listening to her with growing interest. Some nodded, liking what she said. "My daughter tells them how you put her safety before your own," Takakota explained. "How you faced Samuel Crow and enemy warriors to protect someone you just met. She says you have a warrior's heart even if you're a white kid." "I'm not a warrior," Eli said. "I'm just a guy who couldn't walk away." "Exactly," Takakota said. "That's what makes you a warrior." The chief stepped closer, putting his weathered hand on Eli's shoulder. "In my tribe, if you save a chief's child, you become family. Real family. You get what that means?" Eli's heart pounded. "No, sir, I don't. It means you're not alone anymore, Eli Thompson. You're my son if you want to be, and my sons are protected by the whole tribe." Ayanna smiled, telling the other warriors what her dad said. Their tough faces softened, looking at Eli with something he'd never seen: acceptance. Not pity for the orphan kid, not putting up with a nuisance, but a real welcome for someone they saw as family. "But what about Cedar Hollow?" Eli asked. "Samuel Crow won't stop lying." Takakota's smile was cold. "Samuel Crow will learn what's true. Tonight my warriors and I will visit your town. We'll make it clear you're under our protection, and any harm to you is like starting a war with our whole nation. You'd do that? Risk war for me?" "Risk?" Takakota laughed, a deep sound. "No risk. 30 of my best warriors around your home will send a message even Samuel Crow can't miss. You saved my daughter. I save you. That's honor." The next morning, Eli woke in his shack to a sound he'd never forget: 30 warriors standing, quietly outside his door. Not as enemies, but as family protecting one of their own. Samuel Crow and his buddies had shown up before dawn, probably planning to drag Eli out, but they faced a wall of painted warriors who said everything without a word. Through his window, Eli saw Samuel back away slowly, his face pale, realizing the orphan kid he picked on now had more protection than the governor. Ayanna appeared at his door, no longer the scared girl from the creek, but a chief's daughter full of quiet strength. Father says you can stay here or live with our people. Either way, you're family now. Eli looked at the warriors who stood guard all night for a kid they barely knew, because honor said so. For 16 years, he'd been alone, belonging nowhere. Now, because he chose kindness over fear, he found something better than gold, a family, ready to face the whole territory to keep him safe. Tell your father, Eli said, his voice strong with new purpose. I'd be proud to learn your ways. But first, I want to help him make sure no other lost kids go without someone looking for them. Takakota's plan worked perfectly. The message was clear. Eli Thompson wasn't just an orphan anymore. He was family. And in this tough land where family was everything, that changed it all. The 30 warriors stayed until sunset, a living reminder that some bonds are stronger than blood, and courage, when seen by the right people, turns the powerless into the protected. If you like this story, click the video on your screen to watch another awesome tale where honor and destiny crash in ways you'd never guess. Don't forget to subscribe and maybe drop a super chat to help us keep sharing stories like these.